With Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish still struggling to garner national respect and national attention as far as the college football playoff is concerned, the Irish take their show on the road to face a familiar but yet powerful undefeated foe this week. They look to go into hostile territory, place the first blemish on this team's 2024 season. Want to find out who the foe is and where the Irish will be traveling? Stay tuned to find out on Talk Like a Champion. Welcome back, Irish Nation. Glad you could join us for another edition of Talk Like a Champion. As usual, you are joined by Mr. CeeLo. Getting ready to get things going on this day before game day, as we will be playing noon, as the Irish will be traveling to East Rutherford, New Jersey, very close to New York, and to face off against the 6-0 undefeated Navy Midshipmen. Now, many people always clown the Irish when they play Navy, saying that they got no. Well, let me tell you something. When they actually do get some decent talent, I would say more like 3-star, 4-star talent. They slip up on a 4-star that joins the Naval Academy, and it's not fun. As we see, Coach Brian Newberry has this team playing at a high level. And they're just, when you see a Navy team that has what they have, it's darn near impossible to figure out this triple option. It is really, really tough. And you're talking about a football team who is scoring over 44 points a game, nearly 45 points a game. We're talking about Navy. We're not talking about Notre Dame. When you look at the numbers, you automatically sit there and think, wait a minute, do I got the numbers wrong here? And no, you don't. I mean, this Navy team, and anybody that's watched the Navy Midshipmen through the years, you have a situation where you watch this team and you say, and I'm even looking at the predictor that's got Notre Dame as a 91% favorite to win, according to ESPN Analytics. I don't see it being that high. As much as I love our Fighting Irish, you guys, I'm not saying they're going to lose. I just don't see it as lopsided as the analytics see it. But you got a guy like Horvath that is already thrown for 800 yards, and people will say, already? Yeah. Navy doesn't throw it like that. Look at this. Leonard's got 1182. And here's the thing. In an triple option offense, Horvath's got more touchdown passes than Riley Leonard. Now, Horvath and Leonard have the same number of scoring touchdowns, but Horvath's got 621 yards on the ground. And here's the other thing. Heidenreich's got 23 grabs, 485 yards, 5 touchdowns for Navy. This is something that has got to concern you if you are the Fighting Irish. Now, granted, Heidenreich is 6'2", but when you start looking, and then this is what is intriguing about the Navy Midshipmen, is generally they have them a guy that can that's pretty big, and is not necessarily the fastest guy on the team, but Heidenberg's a guy that can get down the field. He's a guy that can really stretch down the field. So this is going to be one of those games where you're going to see a lot of one-on-ones. Guys like Xavier Watts are going to have to cover, and they're going to have to cover extremely well. They're going to have to stay on their P's and Q's when it comes to this thing. And for all intents and purposes, this defense is also very opportunistic. We'll talk about that. But looking at this team and seeing that they've only thrown Horvat's only thrown it 72 times all year. But he's averaging over 12.3 yards a pass. And this, as we said, they run this thing like nobody else does. Well, maybe Army. We could put Army in there. Yeah, of course. They're undefeated too. But to stop the Midshipmen is to understand what they do. And I get so sick of hearing this. It's assignment football. You always hear this from a Southeastern Conference team that never plays Navy.
You some bitches couldn't close an umbrella.
My whole belief in this is that you can't tell us how to play a team until you do it yourself. Everybody sits up there in their panel chair and they say, "Oh, it's assignment football." Well, you also have to have discipline, and you have to have patience. You can't think you're seeing something, because with Navy, what you see is not what you get. And this is the ultimate offense when it comes to speed and size. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to dominate us. What's really difficult about this football team is you never know what's coming. They like I said, for years they were led by Ken Niumatalolo, and this guy threw the kitchen sink at you with it. And I don't know if this Navy, now they do some different things. They don't do it nearly the way Niumatalolo's Navy midshipmen did it, but Notre Dame's defensive discipline is going to be tested. And I've seen in several games that these young guys, they like to get off. They like to be able to run and pursue downhill. And that you can't do that with this football team. You can pursue downhill, but it's going to have to be in a situation where you better get there before the pitch is made, or you better get there before the ball's handed off. It's not going to be a situation where you end up in the backfield and you're a split second late, because that split second late in against this offense can result in either big play or touchdown. So it's important when you gamble, you better gamble effectively. It better be all in, and you better get there. It's got to be a situation either all or nothing when it comes to this. Like as I said before, I think that if we can play Kennedy Urlacher, I think this is going to be one of those games where we play more 3 safety and one cornerback. I don't think there's going to be a need to play 2 corners unless we're going to play one on the back end. But the truth of the matter is the Navy midshipmen want to run the football with this triple option. And if we can keep them in third and long situations, even with Al Golden, I think ultimately, do we need to blitz? I don't know if we really need to blitz. And that's going to be a question that a lot of people are going to wonder. Do we need to blitz? I'm not sure if his accuracy is efficient enough. I think ultimately we should blitz, but I think it needs to be a what you would call maybe a backside blitz, where the quarterback doesn't really get to have a real knack for what he's seeing. I think this is going to be one of those games where you're going to have a lot of linebacker play and a lot of defensive end play. That's going to be huge. And guys like Riley Mills are going to have to be on their A game that week. This is going to be a game where these guys are going to they're going to be sore. And everybody, every year that when we talk about Navy, and then they've still got Army coming up. So it's really great that the bye comes up right after this game. But the reality of it is these guys better be prepared for what they're going to go up against. Because, I mean, there's a lot of guys who've seen Navy, but you haven't seen the likes of this Navy team that they have right now. This team is very disciplined. This team is very skilled. They know what they're doing. This is going to be one of those games where you're going to have guys like Drake Bowen, Leonard Moore. Jaden Osbury's probably not going to play a lot. Jack Kaiser. Xavier Watts could possibly not play a lot. I mean, but his tackling has gotten better. Riley Mills is going to have to play big. Kennedy Urlacher, as I said before, he could have a huge impact. Howard Cross has got to come back big. This is going to be one of those games that he's going to have to do his thing. Bryce Young is going to be a guy that is probably going to see a lot of. He's going to have a lot of opportunity to come out there and do his thing. But the reality of it is, Navy does what it does. This is not a situation that Navy has gone away from what it's done over the course of its entire history. They do what they do. And this offense is tough to stop. I don't care what anybody in the Southeastern Conference has to say. This is not an easy team to face. It's not an easy team to try to beat. But as I said, this is going to be a tough one. And regardless of what anybody has to say, if we get into a shootout and Riley Leonard is unable to run the football and is afraid to throw it down the field to guys like Bo Collins, Jaden Grayhouse, we're in trouble. And I will say this, given the fact that even though Navy has had a not well-tested schedule, but there are many times that Navy has gotten to this point and they haven't won a game, or they've won a handful of games. And the thing that I look at is Alex Texa. This is a guy, as I said, you talk in a league where even the fullback doesn't half exist anymore. In a game that fullback doesn't exist. In this offense, it is imperative that the fullback is good. It reminds me so much of the wing T. They're so much alike. When the wing T is the best player on this offense is very, very tough to stop. And Texka is one of those guys. He doesn't rack up a ton of yards. He's only got 306 yards, but he's that guy that you have to watch in short yardage situations. He's that guy when they're in the red zone and need a score. They go to him. He is that dude. He's that tough, grit-nosed runner. Now, am I saying that he's that super athlete? You give him some space, he'll hurt you. He's that guy that's going to keep pecking away. As I said, you've got to really focus on him. And as I said, the quarterback is... I said Blake Horvath is a interesting type of player. We have to sustain him, whether it's running the football or throwing it. This is a guy that he needs to get popped. He's going to be a guy that we got to hit. As many alluded to, we didn't get a chance to face Haynes King. As I said, for a Navy quarterback, he's completed 63% of his 70-something passes. But he ran it for almost half of 1,000. And he and Riley Leonard are the same type of player, but the difference is Riley doesn't get the same type of misdirection that he gets. And this is where I have a problem with Denbroke's system. We've got to get him in better positions to run the football. Maybe we can take some pointers from Navy. But the truth of the matter is we've got a daunting test trying to stop this guy and his assortment of weapons. I think ultimately we need to sell out on the run and put our defensive backs in positions to make plays. Maybe they'll play one safety out and see where we can go from there. Make them make the mistake because, as I said, they don't throw the ball often. I mean, you look at we played 6 games. They've averaged just about 12, 13 passes a game. We've got to make Horvath throw the football. That's just all there is to it. But let's look on the offensive side where we say, we got to be able to run the football. Whereas Navy's probably going to sell out to stop the run. We can't get so caught up in trying to run the ball that we just get to the point where we're just running it, and they're stopping it. We need to run play action. We need to give Navy a little bit of their own medicine and see how disciplined they are. Because listen, if you got safeties coming up and you got a guy like Bo Collins, hey, look, let me tell you guys something that is not a lot of fun to hear. And I know Navy fans don't want to hear this, but the truth of the matter is Navy does not have a lot of big players. Not saying they're not big time, but what I'm saying is we have bigger players. And that's just not weight wise. We're talking about you got Bo Collins who's right there at 6'3", 6'4". And the reality is Navy's secondary guys, not trying to be mean. Truth is, when you look at how this team stacks up, you've got very few guys. You got a guy like Deshaun Price. Good player, but he's 5'11", 197. This is not a guy that should worry Riley Leonard. If he gets that football up there, and that's what you have to do. You have to get it up there. Rayon Lane, 5'11". Now, Justin Ross is 6'2". He's a true freshman. That's really the only matchup I see that the Irish have to concern themselves with in the secondary. Most of these guys are not even 6 feet tall. This is where Riley Leonard's got to say, hey, look, I got to just throw it up there and give my guys a shot. Because here's the truth of the matter. These guys are going to try to stop the run. Navy understands they cannot go toe-to-toe, man-to-man with the offensive line that the Irish have. They understand that. And for them to try it, this is not going to be in their favor. And Notre Dame cannot come out and think that they're going to just not be able to get on the board. Because the reality of it is, if this offense gets rolling, and you get behind early, this is going to be disaster for them. Because you don't like, you don't want to have to play catch up. You can't play catch up with this team because they hold the ball so long, especially if they're rolling. You already know you're going for it on fourth down against this team. This team is not going to hesitate. They are going to go for it. And this is what they do. Look, I'm going to say it like this. Brian Newberry is going to have these guys ready because he's already said in a press conference, this is a great opportunity for them. They're undefeated. But they also understand this is an opportunity for them to show the world they're for real. And Notre Dame understands they don't have any margin for error. At least I hope they understand. To me, what's got to happen in this game is they're going to have to figure out some way to run the football with either Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, and possibly bring in Williams. Get him the football some. We've got a lot of playmakers out there, and even put Jaden Grayhouse in some opportunities to run the football. Make Navy have to tackle these guys in space. Now look, that's one thing you can honestly say about the Navy midshipmen. These guys are disciplined. It's going to take a lot to get these guys, number one, out of position, and number two, to get them to miss tackles. That's something we're going to have to show them, is that they're playing with they're on the field with superior athletes, superior linemen. This is what needs to occur. They're going to have to get out there, and they're going to have to put their guys in space. That is the huge thing that is going to be, to me, that is going to set this game aside. We already know Joel Klatt has said that he doesn't like Notre Dame's chances against Navy. The reality of it is, we already know what we're up against. We already know what we're going to have to deal with. The truth is that I believe we can run the football. I think we can run the football if we run some different looks. We've got to make the Navy midshipmen look. We've got to make them look. And ultimately, this is where we've got to understand. Maybe we go do 2 tight ends, or maybe we go an extra lineman to play. But I think probably the biggest news that we got was that Billy Schroth is going to be back. His injury wasn't season-ending, but it's great that we're going to be able to get this guy back. You know, this is huge considering we lost Rocco Spindler for the season. You know, it's It's huge that we were able to get this guy back. So we need him to get started early. We're going to need him to get, come out and really set the tone for this offensive line, because, as I said, it's been riddled with injuries. It's going to be amazing to watch this team next season when all these guys come back and they're healthy. And you got a guy like possibly Jadarian Price and, of course, Jeremiah Love at full strength with an offensive line that's got a lot of starts under their belt and that they're confident and they're back healthy. But ultimately, where myself and many of my comrades find this game going, we find it going into the fourth quarter. Now, if somehow Marcus Freeman and Denbrook are able to break this thing open with the deep downfield pass, or possibly the offensive line game plan is just game plan so welled up that they're able to push down the field and get a lot of get a lot of a push up front, and we're able to run the ball in a dominant fashion, that would be great, but I really don't see that. I see this game going along the lines of a 30-27 victory for the Irish. And it gets us some respect, but I don't think it gets us very much, because people still down us because we're not in a conference. I think that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo and a lot of jealousy. And I think ultimately it's going to come down to us beating Army as to whether or not we get in the college football playoff, you guys. That's just what it is. And considering what we've been through injury-wise with all the guys that we've lost for the season, Charles Jagasaw early in the year, Jordan Patella, Boubacar Traore, and Benjamin Morrison. Just so many guys we've lost during the year. And for us to continuously just keep coming back and still next man up. To me, Marcus Freeman's got to look at that and say that next man up mentality is tremendous to have. And with Benjamin Morrison being done, more than likely being done at Notre Dame as well, more than likely to be in a top 10, top 5 pick, depending on how bad this hip injury is. Maybe it's bad enough that people don't want to take a shot on him and they say, hey, come back next year. That'd be great. But, guys, let me know what you think about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish traveling to East Rutherford to face off against the Navy Midshipmen. What do you think is going to happen in this game? Does Riley Leonard have his first 300-yard game? Does he come out and sling this thing all over the field against a defense that has very small secondary players? Or does he run for 100-plus and score 2 or 3 touchdowns against his counterpart? Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. And if you make sure you guys, if you subscribe, you put your name down in the comments so I can know who you are. Also, go to the Facebook page at Talk Like a Champion and add yourself so you can get updates and whatnots on the things that I am doing. Also, go to Instagram and hit me up at Mr. CeeLo and find out things about this show and the other shows that I'm involved in. But until we meet again, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun rise warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.